Hello, my name is Goscalyon and welcome to another episode of 5 Lives, 5 Styles. And today I've got something very exciting. It has taken me a long time to build this, especially to make sure that it all works correctly. But this right here is the Redstone Factory. Now this is the finished product. I have constructed it over quite a few weeks/months now, and it is working. At least I haven't tested all of it just yet. We will do that later in the episode, but here it is. It is going to be able to craft all, if not most, of the redstone components that you see around me, and it should be able to do that as much as it wants, and as long as we fill up the chests. And here of course we can see it has already crafted some chests and it has crafted some crafting tables. I haven't tested all of the other components yet because those require some of these, which I do have plenty of. I've prepared some of that in my inventory already to test it later. But first, of course, we're gonna have to go ahead and build all of these things, and we're gonna have to go jumping back in time to when I haven't built any of this yet. Now this thing is quite big, and I want to build it in this beautiful mineshaft. So let me go ahead and go back to the entrance to show you what I'm talking about. And here we are. This is where we basically left off last episode, in this little hallway leading up from the amethyst mine all the way down to the rest of the city. And here is where I want to build the Redstone Factory. Of course, we have the entrance there, currently still missing a door because I'm oxidizing that and it's taking forever. So hopefully that will be done later. But yes, here is where we're going to build a redstone factory. And of course, I have already completed that now, but we're gonna go back in time and start digging a giant hole. And I'm not just going to build a redstone factory because, as you could maybe have seen already, I'm also building a slime farm to supply the redstone factory with slime balls. And that is not just the only hole that I'm going to be digging this episode, because I also want to build a slime farm, because this redstone factory needs some slime balls. We need sticky piston and slime blocks to be crafted, and we want to have slime balls. I'll probably use one of these tubes to supply them from there and send them into the factory. So that's another thing that we're going ahead and build. The last thing that I want to build is, well, an extension basically to my bamboo farm, because currently the bamboo that I'm producing is more than enough to supply my furnace array. But I also want to extend that production to supply this redstone factory with enough sticks, well, mainly bamboo, to make sticks and planks for crafting tables, for chests, hoppers, and of course we need a lot of wood for some other redstone components as well. So that's gonna be a lot more wood and stuff that we'll need to be producing as opposed to what we're already producing. So yes, a couple of new extensions to my already existing farms. I also want to send those into these tubes directly into the factories. Now, another thing I want to do is, here we have our iron factory that is of course producing a lot of iron. Although currently I have disabled it for now so that I could freely build, and I'm hopefully not going to be summoning any iron golems in the redstone factory. That would be kind of awkward. But hopefully we can hook up the iron factory with the redstone factory, and then we have all of the iron that I could ever need. And then maybe even this episode I want to hook up the mob farm where we have lots and lots of string, because the only thing that requires string is of course bows for dispensers. That's also one of the things that I'm autocrafting. So all of these components are going into the redstone factory, and then some of it is going to be needed to be input manually. Now later this episode I will go ahead and explain most of the redstone and all of the functionalities and systems that I have put in place in this redstone factory. It took me a lot of time to figure all of this out, and I mostly used my own ideas and own concepts to try and figure out a way that I could do this. And I learned a lot about comparators and the other redstone components in the process. Now, what you will see later this episode is redstone that is, a little bit janky and probably a lot more overcomplicated and maybe not as compact as you would like, but it's working and I am very happy and proud of it. So now let's go ahead and jump back in time and show you the entire process of me building this redstone factory and the other components. Now, what you're looking at right here is my little access point for the slime farm, and I just wanted to go ahead and give you a little bit of a sneak peek at the finished result, because I did show the time-lapse how I dug out this hole, but it didn't show... Oh, there we go, we have a little slime in the farm. This poor little guy, he's gonna jump down and die. He perished. On the soul fires, the soul campfires, the soul flames, those things. Initially I put some snowmen in here, but they would keep shooting the slimes from both sides, no matter how I positioned the trapdoors and whatnot. So I ended up replacing them with golems instead, and this seems to be working perfectly. And this platform is the full size of the chunk, and then on the side we have a couple of rows of soul fires. And then, of course, they are being lured to the side by the golems. And then the collection system is down here, which is not really accessible, honestly. It's just gonna have to wait until it's filled up. But this is more of a maintenance shaft, because I'm gonna be sending all of the slime over to the Redstone Factory, and I'm gonna be building those into slime blocks. Next up, I'm going to want to extend the bamboo farm. However, I don't really want to do another time-lapse. We're gonna have a pretty big time-lapse after this, so let's go ahead and just cut to it, and I'll show you the finished result of the extension right away. Now here it is. This is the extension. These two rows were here originally already, and they are linked up to the furnace array. Now I added 4 more, and they are connected all the way over here to a little minecart station, and this should probably be full. Yeah, oh well, it's almost full. Look at that. There's still some room. So this is going to be hooked up to the factory, and so is the slime farm. But now let's go ahead and start on the main object. Let's start digging, because this is quite the redstone build. Roll the time lapse. As I was digging the first few layers at the top, I realized how long it was going to take for me to dig out everything without a beacon. So there we go, off to the nether, getting some skulls, and then killing the wither. Getting my very first beacon in this world, and I think also crafting my very first beacon ever. I don't think I've ever crafted one in the world before, so let's go ahead and use that and speed on with the time lapse. After a few digs later, with the beacon placed, I realized I had to put in 2 iron to activate haste 2 and not just haste 1. This is gonna make a lot of difference. Well, that is a lot of digging. We have completed both the slime farm and the bamboo farm additions. And as you can see from all of the digging earlier, we have gotten quite a bit of stone, cobblestone and all of that, which is gathered nicely in all of these chests. I'm also trying to oxidize some of these doors, which are not going very quickly here. I'm going to need those in the more oxidized color later, so maybe I'll have to put them somewhere else while I'm going to be building the redstone factory. Because that is where we have gotten to in this point of the video. I'm going to go ahead and build the entire redstone factory. Now, as you saw earlier, I have dug a pretty big hole, and I'm going to have to extend those a little bit further to make some room for the redstone. I don't know yet how I'm going to solve that, but I'll try and solve it in this time lapse that we're going to do. Now, for the redstone factory itself, I have gathered quite a few resources. Over here, this is a box that I'm going to use probably to move stuff around. We've got some cobblestone that I'm going to need. A lot of redstone, like a lot. I needed more redstone than I had actually stored up. I had like 6 or 8 stacks of redstone blocks, but I needed like 20 or something. I have a lot of hoppers, but we're going to need pretty much all of this. And then here we have most of the stuff that is actually for the building. We're going to use a lot of warped blocks in combination with the brown glazed terracotta and some copper and the polished tuff. I really like that. And then in addition to that, we have some brown stained glass. So let's go ahead and build that factory, and I'll see you here later after the time lapse. I'll explain to you how in the world everything is working. So I'll see you here in just a little bit. And there we have it. The time lapse is completed, and most of the work I think is done. I still have to hook up the slime farm to this tube, and I might have to adjust this tube a little bit because, as you might see, this water flow, let me actually use FreeCam so you can see this, it ends right here and it needs to go all the way over here. And I can't really place any ice block here because that would be visible. So I think what I'll do is I'll use height instead. Maybe I'll let it go 1 block higher and then drop it down 1 block here. Maybe I'll do that in the wall so it's not as visible. We'll have to see what is the best solution here. But I think that will work out perfectly fine. And yeah, it might still look fine from this angle. You might still be able to see that, but it's not as much in view. Something you may have noticed if you saw the previous episode is that this one was previously connected to the ceiling. But instead what I did is I connected it all the way down here to a bubble vator going up instead, because the redstone line that is connected over here connects all the way to my bamboo farm extension, which is right over here. So that is quite nice. We have a couple of bamboo farms connected all the way here. This one fills up so quickly. I honestly didn't even have to do that much. So maybe at some point I'll switch off 2 of these rails to a separate thing or something and use that wood for something else. No idea. But for now, this is working fine. We sent that card off and sent it all the way back here. But yeah, I'm gonna have to do something similar for the slime farm. But yeah, that one is producing quite a lot of slime as well. So definitely more than I need. Now here we have the Redstone Factory. Still missing a few doors. They're still oxidizing. And here we go into the factory. And what I really like about this top floor is that you'll be able to see all of the blocks coming out of the water here and dropping down. And I also added the frames here so you can see which of these tubes belong to which redstone block or redstone item. And then if we go all the way down, we can go collect them, and we can also supply the factory with the blocks it needs. And yeah, here we have all of the blocks. I added them physically, but also in the frame. Maybe at some point I'll just remove these because honestly we just need that one. But I think that's what I prefer for now. I also like to have them here so they're relatable to the button, because maybe otherwise it's not clear whether it's the button to the left or to the right, but it is the button to the left. And if I were to press the button, that will enable that crafter. So now this crafter will start crafting the dispensers if it can, if it has enough resources. But then if we look over here, I have some lights on if that resource is required by any of the components or any of the redstone components. So right now the factory needs redstone, it needs quartz, it needs cobble, and it needs stone, because I haven't really supplied any of the crafters so far. So what I could do is I could throw in some of these items and see if it will stop needing it. Let's see. I have some stone here. Let's throw in some stone. It will take a bit to go through the entire factory, and there is a couple of items that will require stone. And then of course we have quartz that I could supply, and I have some redstone as well. We'll go ahead and try that later. But for now, that is what that does. And when redstone items or other items are not used by the factory and they make it back through the entire circle, they end up in an overflow chest. That's something that I did as a little bit of a protection when too many items are going through. That one I might have to come and clear out every now and then. So over here I have 2 systems. One of the systems I just explained. If you press the button on the lamp, it will check the state of the lamp and either turn this piston on or off. And I'm using probably way too many slime blocks here, but I am going to extend it all the way down, and it pushes that redstone block onto this line. And this line is essentially, if that is on, it is blocking that crafter. And so, as you can see, currently it's only blocking, or not blocking, this one and this one right here, which, if we look in here, that would be, one of them seems to be incorrect, actually. Let's see why that is. So this one is extended, but it's not far enough. Am I missing a slime block here? I might be. Because if that one retracts, we're going to have to fix that. See, there we go. We have already discovered a small bug. That one cannot be disabled or enabled. It's always on. So we're going to have to get a slime block. I'm going to have to fix that in a moment. But yeah, what that does is if it extends, it basically disables the crafter. So as you can see right now, that one is retracted because we have turned on this crafter. Another way that this crafter will turn off is it's using a comparator here to check with the chest here. This chest is full with shovels, and it checks if this chest is full as well, then it will stop the crafter because the chest is full, it doesn't need any more items. Now, the only small flaw in that is that some items, like the redstone torch or the chest, they are required by other crafting items, and I don't really currently have anything to check that. So if I, for example, have a chest full of chests, and I don't have a chest full of hoppers, then maybe I will have to empty the chest full of chests. I definitely chose the most confusing item there, but hopefully that makes sense. Then it will start crafting the hoppers again and using the chests for the hoppers as well. So that's this little system. It's just checking, is it on or not? Am I allowed to craft it? It also uses another system to craft, and let's see if I can find a very simple one. I think if I go over to the the crafter module here, because I have a lot of crafter modules. They are very big and clunky, but essentially they are a vertical line of dispensers into a middle line of chests, or barrels and hoppers. Now let's look at the smaller one over here, because it'll be a little bit easier to explain. At the top I have a very classic Impulse SV item filter, which will check which item should go in there or not. And then on the other side I have a way to disable that input. So if this item over here, or if this crafter doesn't need any items currently, then it will disable that and not accept any more items. Otherwise, I will run the risk of filling this entire line with items, which I want to avoid. Now, another thing that I'm doing, and I'm going to show that in first person here, is I have a little check. If this hopper has something in it, it will see that with this comparator, and it will disable that crafter. However, what it will also do is sometimes a crafter needs multiple of the same item. And so I have, as you can see, 1, 2, a total 3 items here, or 3 droppers that have items in it. And if all 3 of them have items in it, then it can craft, and then that one is disabled. So let's see, do I have some sticks? I sure do. So if I were, for example, to drop sticks in because they're being crafted, let's say I drop one in here. That one goes down, and now it sits in this one. And because one sits in here, as you can see, this line turned on, and this one turned on. It's disabling the hopper that is right behind this block. If I take this out again, it is disabled. Well, what this essentially does, it will limit the amount of items that need to go through here in order for it to craft. And so now there is a stick in here, there is a stick in here, and there is 2 sticks down here. And so now I don't need to fill the entire hoppers in between here for it to be able to have items in all 3 dispensers. And what I will then do is down at the bottom here, we have the crafter. And as you can see, I have preloaded it with sticks and string. And then what it does, if all of the dispensers have an item in it, it will detect that, because both of these will have been retracted. As you can see, this one is retracted. If I were to go ahead and take items out of this, as you can see, now it extended, and all of the items from the dispensers above, or the droppers above, will have moved down, and now the top dropper is empty, and it will accept items again, and it will disable crafting. So if both of these, in this case that means string and sticks, have filled up all of the 3 dispensers on either side, it will craft. It will do that with a timed loop here to prevent it from crafting too many things and potentially emptying the crafter, and then start maybe crafting items that I don't want it to craft. And so that's how I am mostly doing this crafting here. And this right here is also using a, well, it's a little hopper clock, right? Every time the item moves to the other, it detects it and it dispenses it down. So after it's crafted, it moves into this item right here. So let's say I make a bow, it drops into this dispenser here and is thrown into a small water column, and that's over here, which moves it to the next crafter, which is the dispenser. It's sitting over here. I have preloaded it with a bow in here for one reason, is that when this one crafts, the middle block is empty, or the middle slot is empty. And the problem I ran into with the dispenser crafter is that it would load sometimes cobblestone before the bow could get into this hopper, and then it would fill the middle with a cobblestone, and then suddenly it was crafting furnaces or something, or nothing. And so what I did here is preload this hopper with a bow, and that means that all of the items are pushed in at a rate and filled up in a way that it doesn't block the crafting. And so each of these modules works the same. They have items filters at the top. Right here we have 3. I have also color coded some of them, so the red line is always redstone, the light gray wool is always cobblestone, and so this is always sticks, and we have bamboo for planks, we have iron for, well, iron, we have white for quartz, and we have the gray wool for stone. So that's some of them that I have pre-wired, so to say. And they're also connected with these extremely long lines to these right here. And as you can see, we added some stone earlier. That light is now off, so that means that none of the crafters currently need any stone because they have all been loaded with stone. That might also mean that some of the stone has made its way back into the overflow chest now, because we loaded quite a bit of stone in there. So let's go ahead and have a look at the item filters, just to give you a quick look of what it looks like. There we go, just a very classic item filter. We then have a few ways of disabling them. It's very full here with a bunch of vertical redstone lines, and it was a bit of puzzling, but these redstone torches are very nice to get some vertical lines going, and lighting up the single pistons with redstone torches, very nice. Took me a long time to figure out how to get that working, and it's been very fun to figure out the redstone puzzle one issue at a time. Like initially I had just a vertical line of dispensers, and that was working pretty nicely, and then I figured out, like, okay, but we're gonna have to fill the entire row of blocks and of hoppers before we can start crafting. And so I came up with this very simple design of blocking the hopper above and such like that. So that's been very fun. Let's go over here, because this is after it's been crafted. So after it's been crafted, it will go into the water bubble elevator all the way here, right? This is a big water elevator, and then it has another simple loop to dispense all the items. Now there is 2 ways of doing this. These will only dispense them into the chest below, but some of them, as you might see over here, which is the redstone torch, are also looped back into the crafting loop, which is this big loop around. If I zoom out a little bit, you can see that there is a big loop around here with hoppers all the way around. Quite extensive amount of hoppers, I must say. I may have used a few hoppers too many, but I don't mind. I think this is fine and it works. Maybe it'll clog up at some point. I have no idea. We'll find out if this system is working. I could always change this with maybe a water, a row of water or something. So over here we have a line of bamboo. It's going all the way over here, connected to the water elevator over there. And that connects all the way through here to these 2, well, 3 crafter modules. We have one for sticks, that's right over here. So we have the same thing. We have a filter for the bamboo. And then down here we have a simple crafter that's currently not crafting because nothing needs sticks, because simply said we have disabled all of them. And then it is checking with the crafter, can it craft? This one is a little bit simpler. It just has a clock, and either it's disabled or not. And currently it looks like I disabled it just purely by, like if I were to do that, it will start crafting some items. Not needed right now. Now this module over here is bamboo blocks. Same thing really, with just a smaller timer. It will craft them pretty much instantly, and then over here it's sent, the block is sent over here to turn it into planks, because I don't need blocks, I need planks. Now a very simple way that I am sending some items upwards is these classic dropper elevators with a bunch of redstone torches on the side, and a comparator with a loop right here. As soon as there's an item in there, it will, like for example, if I were to send this one in, yeah, if I send this one in here, you'll see it'll send it all the way up and it sends it into the hopper line. Yeah, shall we go ahead and try out the system and see it crafting a bunch of items? I definitely want to. Let's go ahead and load it up with redstone. We're gonna have to mine some of that and load it up with quartz, load it up with cobblestone. Let's go ahead and put a stack of quartz in and a stack of cobblestone. I said it the wrong way around, but you got the gist. And I just hope that everything goes well, of course. Yeah, totally. It'll go perfectly smooth. A lot of items require quite a decent amount of cobblestone. Now let's see how much made it into the overflow chest. There you go. Some stone made it into the overflow chest. Now if I were to drop it in here again, it's not going to be pulled out until it's necessary. So what I could do is fill up that chest with a bunch of stone. Well, let's go ahead and turn some of them on, shall we? This one is definitely going. It's pushing a lot of items up, I hope. Oh yeah, that's our supply line. Yep, it's pushing a lot of items through. It's going to constantly be pushing items into the line, and then it's going to send them all the way around, and then it is going to be picked up by any of the ones that need it, as you could see there, which is, I think, the redstone blocks. This one right here, that needs redstone basically constantly. But we should be able to see some items coming through here. If we sit here, we might be able to see them. There we go. We've got some, well, we got lots of redstone blocks actually. Let's see, can I see them falling through here? That would be fun. Or am I not going to see it? Maybe I should watch over here. Oh, uh-oh. That's a problem. All right, so I'm going to have to... Oh, there we go. Nice. I'm going to have to find out, because that's why that block is there, so it doesn't do that. So I wonder why it does that. Right, this is a full block. Then it should hit the full block there. So I'm not sure why it does that. Maybe if I place that one and flip it to this side, it won't look as great, but I could do a different kind of trapdoor maybe and put it against the glass. Maybe that'll look nice. I don't know, but that might line it up so it doesn't hit. But that one looked like it was literally on the corner here, so there you go, it happened again. If you have any ideas how I can solve the flow of this, let me know. I'm definitely looking for ideas here, because if I place the trapdoor on this side of the glass, then it's going to maybe not hit this side, but it could still hit this, I think, which is odd. Another option is to change this in its entirety to full blocks, this in its entirety to full glass blocks. Right, it doesn't need to be half blocks. I could try that. Now here at the entrance of the Redstone Factory, I also added a very small thing to enable or disable the bamboo dispensing here. So now it is enabled, I think, and it should start dispensing the bamboo. Well, maybe you can't see it. There we go. Now you can see it. It's being shot up here and into this line, and that means that now it should be going all the way through over here to these lines. It should start accepting both of these and start crafting them. And there I go. I just went ahead and implemented the little fix that I mentioned to these glass parts. I replaced this with full blocks instead of the glass panes, and I reverted the trapdoor to be over here. I also changed the oxidization a little bit. I am gonna have to wax them to make them stay in this, but I just wanted to have a check and see if I like this, and I think it looks alright. It's barely noticeable in most cases, and I think it looks fine. Now, when the items flow through right now, they won't be hitting the side because that's of course a full block, and they won't be hitting this side because they're going to hit this trapdoor and will be aligned slightly in front of this. So that should never really be flying too far. So I think this is a fix for that problem. Now, I think that's pretty much everything that we gotta do for this episode. I am of course going to link up the slime to this here, but that's not something that I'm gonna be showing off because it's not really that exciting. Maybe I'll show it off at the beginning of the next episode. And talking about the next episode, what I want to focus on in next episode is bringing a bit more life to this place. Now, obviously, this chest monster is a little bit of an eyesore, and of course, it is missing a house right here, mainly the bee house, and that is going to supply us with all of the honey blocks and the beeswax. What I also want to focus on next episode is bringing some more life and some more storytelling. We of course have the amethyst mine over here, and there is a reason that the city is connected to it with all of these farms, and that reason I want to explain and bring into the city a little bit more, because right now I think the city looks really cool, although not even close to being finished, right? I want some more height, I want the ceiling to be some more detailed, and I want a little bit more buildings over there and behind this, and there is all kinds of plans that I have for this place. But the main thing that I want to focus on is bringing some more details that explain why we want these amethysts here. So that's something that I want to focus on next episode. All right, that is it for this episode. If you like this episode, please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one.